Hello. Hello, Valuethon. So yeah, I'm Lastly, and this is Try Friendship and Madness. I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it. So, start at the time when I hit begin new game here. 3, 2, 1, go. So the first level is a tutorial, and we don't like tutorials, so we're just gonna kind of skip it here. I'm doing a trick called save warping, where I mash quick save and quick load, and it teleports you to like a default location in the level. And it just so happens at the end of the first level, that location is right near the end, so we skip the entire tutorial. I'm gonna do it same trick again on the second level, and that it skips a lot less time there. It still saves about 30 seconds just running forward, so we can do the rest of the level and just skip a bit of narrative stuff at the start of this level. So this is when it introduces the kind of main mechanic of the game, or main goal of each level, is to collect 3 of these red fox statues and then take them back to the altar. And so, yeah, there's actually a duping glitch, but we're not doing it for this category, where you only get 2 fox statues, and then you quick save once and mash quick load a bunch, and the game gets confused and just gives you all the fox statues. But I like doing this category more, because you see more of the game. Yeah. There's not much more to talk about in this level. There's one small speed trick coming up here, where when I'm crouching through a little tunnel, I'm going to be mashing space a whole bunch to jump, and it makes me go a tiny bit faster through here. It saves about 3/4 of a second in this hallway here, and in the rest of the run will save another 1/4 of a second or so. Nice little puzzle here, moving this bridge into place. Yeah, since we haven't gotten the rest of the mechanics of the game, this is entirely movement based, so not a whole lot to talk about in chapter 2. Chapter 3 is where stuff really kicks off. So yep, hit a switch, open a door, right to the altar, and when I get here I'm going to place all the statues, quick save and quick load, and that'll make the portal to the next level spawn about 2 seconds faster. I think it is the second half, 2 seconds. So now I'm going to try a trick here. I'm not expecting to get it, but I did it once in practice just before this run, so we'll see. Nope, I didn't get it. You can jump up to that ledge there way earlier than you're supposed to and get the final statue early. It'll save about 10 seconds if you get it, but it's probably the most difficult movement-based trick in the run, so I never really expect to get it. It's pretty quick to fail if you don't get it, so it's fine. Okay, so we're about to get the first part of the try, which means that we'll be able to create triangles, which is the main mechanic of the game. And what I'm supposed to do here is build a ramp right in front of me to go through a hole in the wall, but I'm not going to do that. I have other plans instead, because as it turns out, you can build triangles and clip yourself through walls, so I'm just going to put one right here. Please. Oh no. We have a pretty good method for clipping through walls. First try, just like that. Easy every time. And so that clip saves like, I don't know, 20 seconds or something. It's a bunch of slow tutorial stuff over there, trying to teach you how to use the triangles. So yeah, get ready for lots and lots of clipping. And basically how clipping works in this game is I go into a corner and then I make a triangle over myself to trap me in a space that is too small for me to be in. And the game does not like that, so it starts pushing me around all over the place. We kind of see it jitter around a bit. And the game just tries to find a space for me to exist, and usually that is on the other side of a wall, which is very useful. So, again, quick save, quick load, get the portal out faster. Chapter 4 is normally a pretty long one, but we're going to skip the first third of the level or so by just going over here. This is a yellow barrier. You can't clip through yellow barriers, but you can clip around them. Luckily this one's very small, so should just pop out of bounds like that. And just hit that switch to turn off the barrier so I can go through that doorway normally next time. And this is the end of this first third of the level, so I can just grab the statue and be on my way. So one thing I really like about running this game is that because of the creating triangles as platforms to move on, and just how out of bounds works in this game, you can traverse a lot of the level by just clipping out of bounds. It's very cool. So there's a lot of very creative routing that can be done. Makes it a very good speed game, in my opinion. Oh, got the second statue is just laying on the ground. Someone left it in a ditch. Grab the third one, and it's basically just platforming from here to the end of this level. The rest of this level is like surprisingly difficult. Because this room, it's really easy to fall on this jump right here. Well, I did it. I did it, guys. I did it, y'all. It's like, if you fall there, you lose like 15 seconds, and it's just embarrassing. It's so easy, you shouldn't fail that, but I do it sometimes. And I'm going to make a jump that looks really risky, but is actually very easy. Let's see, just like that. Jump around the corner, no problem. Oh. Triangle making reticle looks like an egg yolk. I've never heard that one before. I'm a fan though. I kind of want eggs. It's only 2:30 though, it's too early to have eggs. Alright, now this level is where things get really wacky. I have to hit the switch first because there's a big yellow barrier in the way, and I could technically clip around it, but it takes forever to do, and I would have to do it a second time later. So it's faster to just hit the switch. Now I'm going to get the second piece of the try, which unlocks our second primary mechanic, which is walking on triangles. Now you'll see in front of me, there's a line of triangles going up this wall. And it lets me defy gravity as long as I'm standing on a triangle. It's kind of weird to explain. Hopefully it makes sense when you see it. Oh, I have to come up here and hit a second switch because there's another big yellow barrier. Again, I could clip around it, but it's just faster to hit that switch, because I'd have to clip through it multiple times. Oops. When I draw triangles, there's a limited space that I can draw them in, because they can only be so large. And so sometimes you'll see me making really big triangles, and I have to make them a little too big, and I have to readjust it. It's one of the trickier things to be good at in this game, is making sure you don't accidentally make a triangle too big and lose all that, like a second or two adjusting it. So I'm going to do a puzzle here. I could do a clip to skip it, but the clip is slower by 1 second. So unfortunately, it is faster to just use these boxes and put them on some switches. Oh, didn't get the throw. Okay, let's see if I can get this throw. Okay, I got that throw. Sometimes that second box I throw will fall off the switch while I'm going to grab the statue. And if I'm not fast enough, the doors will close on me, and I have to clip out of that room. Okay, that's level 5 done. On to chapter 6. This one, there's a save warp you could do here. It warps you one room ahead and skips this, like hitting one switch, but instead, we're going to clip through this corner and skip the first third of the level. Just like that. So now I'm between these two rooms, and I can, this is where the out of bounds traversal gets really cool. I can just go right up here and hey, look, a statue. And open a gate to continue on my way. It's one of those points that I'm trying to put points on a very small surface, so it's a little tricky to do. Alright, now this part of the level, because of just the level construction here, it's very hard to break this, and so I'm just going to be doing intended strats for this. There is a way to do all this from out of bounds, but it's very, very slow. It's not advantageous. It's just also difficult to do. Oh no. If I ever mess anything up, my excuse is going to be, it's 3 AM. So I just messed up that because it's, you know, almost 3 AM. Just blame it on middle of the night. No problem. Alright, second statue, we just have to run back out now. Yeah, that's when on your first playthrough, it is very easy to get lost and get disoriented when you're spinning around and stuff. The fact that I'm going very fast is definitely not helping. Oh yeah, by the way, the gravity of this room has flipped 90 degrees while we were getting the statue. That's called the 1/10 jump. It saves 1/10 of a second and skips one line of dialogue. Skipping dialogue isn't important in this game. None of it is required. But it's interesting to note. So this clip is a little hard because I don't have markings on the wall to see where I'm lining up at, so I just kind of have to wing it. I didn't get it. That's fine. Because normally there's like a grid on a lot of the textures. There we go. And you would do like 1.5 blocks of the grid in each direction, and that'll usually get you through. There are some clips that are a little different there. So on that corner specifically, I just have to estimate because there's no grid on the wall. So this is one of my favorite out of bounds sections because you are climbing up to like the very top of this level. I'm going to very carefully be off the edge of the triangle so my gravity changes. I'm now standing on the edge of the triangle, which you're not really supposed to do. I'm going to be above the ceiling of this room and grab this statue from there. And now I can go over this way. And this big black column here, the altar is actually near the top of it. So I can just climb up to the top of this thing. And it skips a whole bunch of really slow stuff. It's very good. I really like that trick. I have to be careful here. Okay. If I fall down there incorrectly, I can end up falling all the way down to the bottom of this tower, and it takes like 30 or 40 seconds to climb back up. So I'm going to do another save warp here. This is the save warp that saves the least amount of time. It saves maybe 10 seconds at most. Skips a whole one room. And I'm going to do a trick called box jumping, which is a neat little physics thing. When I do that, I stand on the box, I jump up, I click once to grab the box, and I click again to let go of it. And then I can jump off of the box again. I have to click it once to pull it towards me, and then let go of it before I can jump off of it, because while you're holding the box, you don't have a collision with it, so it'll just clip inside of you. So it's a very tricky little thing to do. It's a fun trick though. There are some places in the run where there are hypothetical box jumps that you could do to save like minutes of time, but it's exceptionally difficult, and it's like I haven't even done it in ILs. Right, now we're just gonna do another little clip here. And I need to do a second triangle for this one. It's in a very awkward place. I have to go around the corner like that. And hey look, another statue. Just like that. Chapter 7 used to be a very long chapter, but then we broke almost all of the statues for it, so it's a lot easier now. It's much faster. Well, it's not easier, it is faster. Some might say it's more difficult, because the box jumping and the clipping takes a lot of practice. The last section though, because of where the statue is, it's not really any way to break it. It is up very high in the level compared to everything else, so it's hard to get out of bounds and get up here. And then also the statue is inside of blocks floating in the middle of a room, and so I can't actually clip out of bounds to get to it. I have to be in bounds. There is one way to speed it up. I'm not going to intentionally try it, but when I flip around here, this block here, if I land on top of it, I can crush these with my own body weight. But then there's a lot of RNG involved because the blocks break apart into little chunks, and the little chunks you cannot interact with, but you'll stand on them, and you can't jump off of them. And so it can make it really awkward to exit that section when you're standing on top of all these chunks, and sometimes you just don't move because it eats your inputs. Anyway, that's chapter 7 done. That went pretty smooth. I'm happy with that one. So chapter 8, we're going to start with a really weird clip here. And run into this corner and do an odd little clip. Hopefully I will get this first try. I did not. Let's do this. If that works, there we go. I'm going to drop onto this statue and drop out of bounds. There are these pillars here. Normally you would go onto those pillars and platform your way over to where the statue is, but if you do that, when you void out, you'll respawn down there. But if you just drop right onto the statue, you void out back up where you started. Just very convenient. It saves like 20 seconds or something. Now the green stuff here is acid. If I fall on that, I will die. So let's not fall on it. I need to go over here and hit a switch to drain the acid out of this room and one other room. And then the other room has a statue in it, so that's why I need to drain that at all. There it is. Oh, need to climb up to the next section. This place is another area where there's not really any out of bounds to do because of the level construction. It's all just one big like chunk of rooms, and there's a whole lot of void waiting for you outside, so there's not really any place to go out of bounds here. There are still cool tricks in it though. Another one coming up here, it's probably the oldest trick in the run. It was found by Rainius, who was the first person to run the game. He has since retired from running this game, but he found this. I'm going to back off of this edge very slowly and grab the statue on the way down. Normally you would have to go through a certain route and get upside down and do all kinds of platforming stuff to get around, and it just is slow. Okay, winding this box up just right to do another box jump. And hey, look at that, free statue. Normally, the spot where I got that crate out, I would get like 3 or 4 of them. That's what you would do casually. But you can just do a little box jump there to grab it instead. It's much faster. Alright, on our way to chapter 8. On our way to chapter 9. That was chapter 8. Right. The only level where you turn around 180 degrees at the start. Now this level has some very tricky stuff in it. I'm expecting to lose like a minute here. So we will see how it goes. First though, the game is introducing a new mechanic of these light beams. You know, have you ever played a video game before? You turn on the light beam, it hits a crystal and it activates a thing. You know, video games. Oops. You know, sometimes the crystal is not in the pedestal yet, so you have to put it in like that. Just a nice little tutorial. And now we need to block this light beam to open this door. I messed up my triangle. There we go. There's the first statue. Now normally you would go up onto the roof of the level from here, but we're going to drop back down, because there's a clip to do down here. And it's a little hard to do because the lighting in this area is a little funky, and I put this point too low. There we go. Okay. So now we're out of bounds. I'm going to go to a very specific spot over here. Hit a quick save, then jump off here. Grab the statue on the way down. That skips a whole bunch of stuff. It saves like 45 seconds or a minute or something. It's a huge time save. And now we just leave. And luckily, this puts us right at the spot we want to be for the next statue. This is where I might just lose a whole bunch of time. We'll see. I'm going to be quick saving a bunch because I'm over top of a bit of acid. So if I clip wrong, I might just die. And we'll see if I can get this. This is a really awkward corner to clip through because there's like a black bar above me. Oh, I got it first try. Nice. Okay. It's not the most optimal version of that clip. It can launch you upwards and get you all the way up to where I'm going. But that's really hard to do. So yeah, there's the last statue. And so since I clipped into this room, the door is still locked. And so I can't get back out. I have to clip out. Whoops, I shot back straight down. When you clip, sometimes it launches you in a direction, and sometimes that direction is straight down. And that's the one thing I don't want to happen here. Like that. Okay, I'm going to need to redo this triangle. This corner, for some reason, is just really tricky to clip through. Dang it. Okay, there we go. This will work. So I can just drop off like this. Okay, and now we just need to leave. Whoops. So you see the triangle was green there. I have my color set to pink and green. Pink means that I can walk up the triangle. Green means that it is too steep. So sometimes you'll see you make a triangle, immediately delete it, and redraw it, like there. So yeah, that level was not that bad. The clip that I was worried about went fine. Oh, get through the hole. There we go. Okay, this is a big tall column that is, when you get to the bottom, it just warps back to the top and you'll fall forever. A la Portal. And this is one of those spots where you could do a box jump and save a bunch of time, but it's extremely difficult. It takes about 22 box jumps. I've done it a couple of times. I've never finished an IL with it, so I'm not going to try it in the run. So I'm just going to do it normally. It's still a very broken level. We're going to skip most of it. Oops. Again, made it too steep. Had to retry it. There we go. Alright. So, neat little puzzle here with blocking and unblocking light beams to open and close doors. And you're supposed to get onto the ceiling and run at this from there. This is just a bad triangle. There we go. But if I do this just right, I can just run over it from here. Jump over it like that. No problem. There's actually a bunch of different ways to get through that. It's all very complicated. And there was a crystal there that you're supposed to grab and put into a pedestal for a light beam. But we're fine. We don't need that. We can clip through walls instead. Alright, so remember how I said you could do 22 box jumps to get up to the top of the level? Well, this is where you would end up. You get that statue, and then you're just back down here. So if I could do that jump, it would skip that whole section I just did and save all that time. So it'd be a very good thing to do, but it's very, very difficult. So now I'm going to clip out of bounds here. I'm going to do a little bit of tricky platforming here. I need to make some very specific triangles. I actually need to jump forward. If you run forward, it just pushes you back in bounds. So you have to do a little jump there. for some reason. I don't know why it works that way, but it does. So now I can't see the ceiling when I'm over top of it, so I need to put all these triangles there to have a place to walk on. Ta-da. Now I'm actually going to play it safe. There's like barely enough room here to grab this statue. And so if you're not all the way against the wall, sometimes you'll either fall through or you will not be able to reach it. So we got the last piece of the try, unlocks the final mechanic of reflecting the light beams. I can do that. I like getting this light beam without having to see the crystal. It looks very cool when I do that. Unfortunately, I missed it. So you can actually clip through these gates. You don't have to do all this reflecting, but the reflecting is a lot easier. And also faster when you can get it right. There we go. This gate in particular, with these horizontal bars, is actually pretty difficult to clip through. Alright. That was an okay chapter. So, on to chapter 11. This one introduces red light beams, which are lasers, and they will kill you if you stand in them for too long. There's a little bit of a grace period where you can be in them for like 2 or 3 seconds, so you can move out of the way, which is very nice. It's very nice. That's so forgiving. And I'm not supposed to be doing this, as you might guess. I'm just going to clip upwards like that. Those bars, you're not supposed to be able to fit through them, but if you corral yourself in the corner just right, you can just, it'll like not know what to do and just shove you through anyway. Because the gap in the bars is like the most reasonable, logical place to put you, instead of like shoving you through a wall. It just pushes you up. Now I'm going to do a type of clipping called layer clipping, where I'm going to make a triangle to trap myself, and then just make triangles to keep pushing myself a little bit further back. And eventually I'll be through this gate. This isn't actually looking good. We'll see how this goes. Oh, there we go. I got it really fast. 4 triangles is pretty good. Oh, grab that statue. That section you're normally reflecting a red laser to destroy some boxes. That takes forever, so it's a good trick that we found there. Now, I have to do some intentional pathing through here to get to the next section, because it's getting to it from out of bounds, as far as I'm aware, is not actually possible, unfortunately. It's a little bit too far away from everything. Alright, I need to hit the switch to open up a bridge. I'll need that later. I'm going to reflect this light beam in a very specific way. Shoutouts to some dude on YouTube who watched one of my speedruns and said, hey, by the way, you can just do one triangle there, and it makes it a lot easier. Because normally you're supposed to reflect that light beam all around the room a whole bunch of times, because the crystal you need to activate is spinning. And so you need to reflect it around a whole bunch. But if you just do one triangle, you're fine. And it stays in just long enough to open up the door and let you through. Alright, and now getting to the third triangle. Once again, after the intentional pathing here, because getting here out of bounds, it's just too far away. So you can't clip out and get here any faster. And there's red light beams and acid in this room, so I need to be very careful. But I'm still going to clip through here. You best believe I'm going to clip. So I'm going to paint a glass pane here. Or glass window, rather. I'm going to just clip my face through and just like grab the statue with my teeth. And then once you grab the statue, you can just leave. It doesn't really save a whole bunch of time, but it looks really cool to do. So now I just need to put this box on the button to open up a hole in the wall. But the hole, dang it. I just started doing this new thing where I make this platform angled to make it easier to click. And I'm like, well, the box might fall off. But the box is really heavy to try and avoid that from happening. There we go. That's what's supposed to happen. Because if you just weigh the box or the switch down, the hole in the wall is not there permanently. It just kind of slides by. So if you just leave it on the switch, then you don't have a door to go through. So you need to time it right and be at the door when the box hits the switch. So now chapter 12. This is the shortest chapter in the game, or second shortest rather, after the first chapter. So if I do this right, it'll be a little over a minute. I'm going to clip through this corner. The reason it's so fast is because we start with the altar and all 3 statues right at the beginning of the level. The thing is, the statues are all behind yellow barriers, so I need to hit some switches to get rid of those barriers. It's possible to clip around them, And that actually was the old strat for a while. But it's a lot faster to just clip through that corner and then do some out-of-bounds platforming here. Hit all these switches. Oh, just need to go over here and hit this switch, and then we'll hop back in bounds over here. It's a little awkward to get back in bounds because your gravity is changing while you're like halfway through a wall. But it works out fine. Also, there's these red fox ghosts. There's a whole story going on that we're completely skipping. You're not supposed to see all 3 of the fox ghosts in the level at once, but there we go. On to chapter 13, which is one of my least favorite chapters. Probably my least favorite because, as you can see, there's just a lot of nothing here. So clipping is not super useful for a lot of it. It's just a lot of traversal. And also it introduces invisible pathways to walk on, to where sometimes the floor is just invisible. It's only in this level, as in the late game stages here. There's a lot of mechanics that are only in one level at a time. Okay, this is going to be one of 2 clips we do in the level. Those white orbs that are flying around, those are called kami. They were introduced in the last level and we completely skipped the tutorialization of them. I got the bonus idol. Basically you need to bounce them around with your triangles to get them into receptacles to activate things, just like you would with a light beam. Alright, now, do you like platforming? Do you like jumping from one thing to another? Because I gotta do a bunch of it. Move that out of the way so I can get a running jump here. It looks like you should be able to land on the top part of this cube, but you can't. It's unfortunate. It would make it a little bit faster. Oh, there we go. So now I'm going to hit these crates over here. I'm just going to do a little loop here and scatter these crates around, because I need 1 crate later on, and the way you get crates in this level is by messing up that little art installation full of crates, and they slowly start drifting around, and when they go out of void out, they will respawn at your respawn locations. And so I need 1 crate to respawn in time. If I go too fast here, then I'll actually have to wait around for a crate. It's a good problem to have, honestly. So if I get over there and there's already a crate, that means I went too slow. I'm going to very carefully not go too far in there and grab the statue. Because if I go too far in that section, then when I void out, I'll respawn down there, have to climb back up. Which it takes like 20 seconds, but it's easier not to. So I went too fast, now I have to wait for a crate. So something I didn't mention is this stuff is wood, and you cannot draw triangles on wood. So this is taking a while. Go on, boxes, I believe in you. Oh, there's one. Oh, even better. So something to note about boxes is that they're going to keep on respawning, and more of them are drifting out of bounds. And so more and more are going to be respawning, and they'll start knocking themselves out of bounds and pushing them around and getting more momentum, and then that'll make them respawn faster. And there are a couple of spots where I have to void out and respawn, and if a box respawns right after I do, then it'll just eject me and shove me really hard, really fast, and can void me out. And in the worst case scenario, that can send me back to the beginning of the level because of where I could void out at. Hopefully that won't happen. We'll see. So I'm going to do this in a slightly unintentional way. There's an invisible wall here that you're supposed to be on the outside of, and I'm going to be behind. So I'm not supposed to be able to draw on this pillar here. And you're supposed to go up the invisible wall. It takes you upside down. This is really hard to draw on because it's so narrow. I'm a little bit slow here. That's fine. Okay, up here is what I was talking about, where the boxes could eject me into space. And they didn't. Thankfully. Thank you, boxes. I'm going to be very careful here. It's a lot of invisible platforms up here. I want to jump down to that one. Okay. So this is the thing. I'm supposed to be on the bottom of this instead of on the top. But it's so much easier to do this from the top. Alright. So on to the last chunk of this level, and then we're done. And luckily, there's a very cool clip here to do. Just need to get to it. So you're supposed to bounce a light beam around in here to open up a gate. But instead, this is one of the 2 places in the level that a clip is actually useful. Can't get through. There we go. And now there's a statue, and I'm out of here. We want to void out to go back up here. So this is another place where the boxes, you see what happened there. Two boxes respawned at the same time. One of them just shoved the other out of the way. That can happen to me. So luckily it didn't. The worst I've had is one time I was doing a run and that just happened like 3 times in a row. And it was not good. Because you lose like 15 seconds each time. It's rough. Alright. We're out of chapter 13. Been a pretty good run so far. We've got the 2 harder chapters coming up. 14 prisons. This is maybe the hardest chapter in the game. It has a lot of very tricky stuff, both in the intentional route and in the speedrun route. It's very hard. This is one of the easy tricks though. It was actually where I found how to clip in this game. I'm going to trap myself against this barrier and then put a triangle underneath me and then bring it upwards. And so it'll just kind of shove me through the wall. That's called a tilt clip, because you're tilting yourself through the wall. I just need to climb on out of here. Actually getting out of that section, on your like first playthrough, it's pretty difficult, because you're climbing around a 90-degree corner, and that's just a hard thing to wrap your mind around at first. Okay, so, got the first statue, time to get the second statue. It's after a really, really long, really boring puzzle, so we're just gonna clip through this wall. Like, just like that. And just go over here. So I could clip back out of this room, but I'm not going to because it's like you can clip out, but then there's kind of nowhere to go. You can only go down from here. It's hard to get back up. So instead I have to do this little puzzle. Rid of these jars. I just set a jar on this very carefully, but these are very fragile. Oh no, it broke open. There was an eyeball monster inside. Don't worry about it. We had to draw those triangles to keep the eyeball monster on the button, otherwise they move around randomly. They're one of the biggest RNG points in the game, which is kind of good and bad because it means that the biggest RNG point can only lose you like 5 or 10 seconds. So that's not so bad. Alright, now, this is the yellow cube. This is the only time it's used in the entire game. I'm gonna quick save real quick, make sure it goes through there. So there's a barrier down there that the cube can go through, but I cannot. And so I throw the cube on the other side, and then when I run through a yellow portal, it'll teleport me to where the cube is. So I just have to throw it through the gateway there. Oh, adjust that a little bit. There we go. And now for this thing called Laser Hallway. It's a miserable experience to do it casually. Luckily, one of the other runners, Amaranth, found a really good, pretty consistent strat to do this pretty quickly. Hopefully, I will not mess it up too badly. I'm gonna do it like this. I've already messed it up somewhat. I need the laser to be staying in the middle, kind of along this seam here. Hopefully this isn't too bad. I want to light up the farthest away one. I'm not lighting up at all. Okay, I'm actually going to go back down and redo this. I didn't like this first reflection I did. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is a red laser beam, so if I stand in it too long, I will die. Which just makes all this reflecting that much more fun, really, honestly. Those are in the way. Okay, that looks fine. It's much more centered this time, so this should go a lot better. This is one of those things where if you make like one mistake with one of these triangles, if it's just a little bit off, then it can throw everything off. It's just kind of a cascading effect. I need to rewind to the center just a tiny bit, not too much. I'm going to place this triangle. Again, want to just light up the last one and then unlight it up. You will see why in a moment. I'm going to place some triangles along here to make it easier to traverse this on the way back. You'll need to stand right there. Oh, I need to light up 3 crystals here, bounce it back down, light up a 4th one. There we go, we got 2 just like that. Hopefully I can get this one pretty quickly. There we go. And that's actually pretty good. That's a pretty nice spot to have that in. Hopefully this doesn't zap me. Where is that going? I actually want to look where this is going before I finalize the triangle. Let's try and lower it down a bit if I can. Get it more through the center. Okay. We'll just call that good enough. This part you kind of have to freehand it still. Because... oh no. It just isn't really something you could route out. Or not like easily at least. Okay. Okay, run through the laser beams a little bit. They only hurt a little bit. That's fine. So this part used to be really long and awful, and now it's a lot easier. It was like a major reset point in the run. There we go. And now it's consistent enough to where I basically never reset to it. So yeah, that took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but it was still pretty good. It got me through. So now, if you remember the yellow cube that I mentioned earlier, here's the yellow portal. I'm going to run through this and then teleport to where the cube is. And the cube comes back up here. So there's a clip that I could do here, but the platforming you have to do after the clip is really difficult. It involves jumping onto and off of a bunch of 1 pixel wide platforms, and I'm not a fan of that, so I'm just going to do this reflection real quick. If I do it fast, it looks really cool. Hopefully I do it fast. It's good enough. There are 2 crates down here you have to blow up to gain access to this teleportal. And we're into this room. Flips our gravity. So we have gravity towards the bottom, towards that wooden wall, or the crates have gravity towards the regular wall. So I have to do a really awkward box jump there to get up to this platform. It only saves like 5 seconds to do, but it looks real cool. And box jumping is something that requires a lot of rhythm, and the rhythm changes for those boxes because of this strange gravity. And if you remember before, I mentioned some very hard box jumps. And that is where one of them is. You have to box jump, I think it's 30 times. You can go all the way up to that floating island up top and just grab the last statue. It would save a bunch of time, but it's also exceptionally difficult. So, chapter 15. This is the last proper level. There's 2 sort of levels after this. I'm gonna just clip out of bounds, clip out of this room real quick. And we're in space. There's a bunch of little planetoids. So we void out and it just puts us on the other side of a closed gate. If you, normally you have to put a box on a button, but you know, that takes too long. So we just clip out of bounds and do that instead. And the box that we would use for it is a special box that I'll explain later. Because we will see the box again, but we will not use it. There's a unique mechanic to this level that we completely ignore. So I go in here. Now I'm going to clip out here. Skips. Okay. I'm going to drop onto this platform and then drop over here. And it skips a whole bunch of stuff in this level. There's a lot of like reflecting light beams and weird platforming and stuff in this area. So instead, I just clip out of bounds and go through here. The thing is now, I don't have what you're supposed to use to get out of this section. So it's another case of I have to clip out of bounds to leave. Oh, grab that statue. Here's that blue cube I was talking about. I'm going to throw it over there. It shares the gravity that you have instead of maintaining the level's gravity like normal. And you're supposed to put on a button, but we skip all the puzzles involving the blue cube. Poor guy. So this is called layer clip. Apologies for all the jittering going on, but that happens. The room is a cylinder, so there's no corners in a cylinder, as you might remember from high school geometry class. So you just have to make your own corner there. And now we're back in the... You're not supposed to be able to void out in that section of the level. So the game just gets real confused and goes, I don't know, put you back at the start, I guess. And so we're back in this first room. We can do this clip again, hopefully. There we go. Skip that first puzzle for a second time. And we're on our way. That is probably the hardest section of this level. So that's a relief to get that over with relatively little trouble. Onto the second planetoid. It's the square hole planet, because it has a bunch of square holes in it. I have to be very careful. I need to get through this tunnel, but my gravity is towards the outside of the planet. So if I fall off here, I will just kind of spin around, and it's a real bad time. I have to be careful about my triangles here. Okay, we teleport to a different planet, and now it's a big sphere, and our gravity is outwards, and the statue is floating in the middle. It's all very confusing because it's all breaking physics. It's a little hard to explain. So I'm just going to go to the top of the room and drop this box on the statue to knock it down to somewhere I can grab it. You could hypothetically do a box jump, but gravity here is so weird that it's extremely difficult to do. And it's not that hard to do anyway, to do the regular strat. But yeah, that's 2 statues down, 1 more to go. The last one is a bit of awkward platforming. It's going to be in this section called Ghost Cubes. There are going to be these cubes floating around that when they hit my triangles, they will delete the triangles. So I have to make sure that I'm not standing on a triangle when it gets deleted, which is harder than it sounds. I'm going to be quick saving a whole lot. Oh, I'm going to wait for the time. There it is. So, luckily the cubes are all set on set paths, so I just have to take the same path up that I always do. There's like a couple different ways to go about this. This is the fastest I found. I need to wait now. I took too long to set the triangle, so I would have fallen off if I had gone there. So yeah, that was fine. I'm going to do a quick save up here again, because it's still possible to fall off. And when you void out here, it takes you back to the bottom. So you want to have quick saves as you progress through it. Because you don't want to fall. You don't want to have to do all that over again. I'm going to quick save here real quick, because you have to drop and grab the statue. And in a practice run, I missed it like 4 times, which is way more than I have in the past like 2 years. Whoops. Okay, but we have all the statues now. We just need to go to the altar. And the altar is actually on the surface of this planetoid, but it is surrounded on all sides by yellow barriers that we cannot clip through. So instead we have to come in here and do the puzzles. It's one of like very few puzzles that are absolutely required to beat the game. Most levels, you can skip almost everything. It's not always fast, but you can skip it. But this is one... Oh, that's a bad reflection. I have to redo this. So I have kind of a rough setup here that I do. And hopefully they will behave this time. Okay. They're bouncing in the right spot on the wall now. Right general section of the wall. Whoops. Okay, that's good enough. I'm gonna do something like this. These things are a little awkward to bounce around. I think that'll work. Almost. Okay, there we go. So I need to bounce these kami into 2 different receptacles. The receptacles count up to 4, and then when they don't receive any kami, they start counting down. So you count the first one up to 4, and then you move the kamis to bounce into the other receptacle. And then hopefully you get that one to count up to 4 before the first one counts back down. Otherwise, you have to get them back in the first one again. And there's a long fade in here, and I need to be able to see because the first thing I do in this level is clip out. So we just stand around for a second. There's only 3 puzzles in this level, and we're going to skip 2 of them. There we go. It's very hard to see because it's very bright here. And if you void out wrong here, you'll respawn at the beginning and have to do that clip again sometimes. But we're in the final room with the final puzzle. Oh. I have to hit the switch, turn on a red laser beam. And so there's a red fox in this room. You can't currently see him, he's invisible. We need to hit him with this laser. He actually disappears when you're in the room and when the laser is active. Or when he sees the laser, he will not move. So we need to set a little trap here to zap him with the laser. It's okay, he just takes a nap when he gets hit. So basically get the red laser to a point on the floor and then put a triangle there because the fox will move towards the triangles to destroy them. When he destroys them, it reveals the laser and zaps the fox. And so now the fox is taking a nap, the monk has him. I have to run next to him to activate his dialogue, otherwise he won't move. And this is the only level where the altar is activated by standing on 2 switches at the same time, so we need the monk to go stand on a switch with us. So I have to make these platforms here so that he can walk across. This is the slowest, most boring part of the run, basically. And sometimes, if your triangles aren't even enough here, he just will look at him and go, I can't walk across that. So he's walking already. We got that done pretty fast. He hasn't fallen off the top ledge yet. I'm going to do something called bully strats, where I'm just going to run into his back, and it pushes him along a little bit. And if you do this well, it saves like 10 or 12 seconds over just letting him walk on his own. So it's good to do. And you can't push him off a ledge. He'll stop moving if he gets too close to a ledge, and you just can't push him then. But I could like delete this triangle out from under him and make him void out, and then it just fades to black and gives me a tells me to load a save, which is not good but funny. So I'm gonna do my best to push him over to the side. If you get too close to his face, he starts to turn and look at you. And you don't want that, because then he kind of stops moving or will move in a weird direction. It's not great. Okay, epilogue. This is technically the final level. There's about 1 minute left in the run, so whoever is running the timer, you have your 1 minute warning. There's nothing else to do here for me, so I'm just going to start talking. Yeah, this has been Try, A Friendship of Madness. There's like 40 seconds left in the run. He just monologues at you and wraps up the story, but we skipped all the story, so who cares? Yeah, this game's really good. People are saying it turns your brain into mush, and totally. It's a very cool game. It's a really great puzzle game. I think it's fantastic. When playing it, it's a great speedrun too. It's been a lot of fun to break this game. So yeah, I think there's about 20 seconds left now. Yeah, now the mummy, there's a blue fox. So yeah, the foxes are friends again. They run off to go be God, but good. Yeah, and time's coming up about now. Sorry about that, I lost in thought. But yeah, run. It was a couple minutes underestimate, that was good. Nothing really went wrong. Yeah, that was Try, A Friendship of Madness. Beat the game, no duping. Thank you for watching, and enjoy Valuethon.